Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Yes, you can start. Listener already joined.
Welcome to the live talk from IPDP, the Intellectual Property Development Program, part of Bangladesh Center for Policy Research. Today's topic, first of all, you are all welcome. All of you friends, colleagues are welcome for this live talk. The topic for today is, you can see it on the banner, is Intellectual Property Development Program that I mentioned is as a new mechanism for creation of new employment, growth, and economic sustainability in the world. This is quite a topical subject matter, and it is, as you can see that, the aim is creation of new employment, growth, and economic sustainability. The IPDP is headquartered from Bangladesh, but it is a mission for IPDP to be able to contribute to the development globally across the world through the tool of intellectual property. That is what the subject tries to match up this morning in terms of creating new employment, growth, and economic sustainability. Sustainability is one word that has been there in economics, development economics, and now in international affairs in terms of sustainable development goals called SDGs, which were initially called MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals at the turn of the century, at the beginning of the 21st century. Now, friends, we have Sustainable Development Goals, which includes the broad spectrum of different dimensions of development, from hunger to poverty to gender equality to technology promotion to name it one. And they're all covered in the clusters one way or the other. And intellectual property as the harbinger of innovation, the protector of innovation, and the tools of science technology for that process is sine qua non, is an inevitable as one of the most important platforms that is intellectual property for development. And that is what this platform is as well, IPDP, Intellectual Property Development Program. It aims, its focus is essentially on the least developed countries and the developing countries. This is from the point of view of IPDP. Now let's take the bigger picture globally, which is the World Intellectual Property. World Intellectual Property Organization is the sole United Nations specialized agency for the development, promotion, protection, and balancing of interests in the field of intellectual property. When we speak of intellectual property as the creations of human mind, then if there is one global agency that is taking care of different facets of this, that is the World Intellectual Property Organization. This is a part, as I said, this is the sole United Nations agency, specialized agency. Now, today, without much ado, I want to introduce the topic upfront right away, that the speakers, or they take up these two angles. The two main speakers are Mr. Muhammad Abul Kalam Azad, Abul, not Abdul, Kalam Azad, who will take up the first part, the first leg of this topic, which is about the LDCs, the developing countries, in terms of how intellectual property promotes, creates new employment, growth, and economic sustainability. And the other, the global picture, on behalf of the World Intellectual Property Organization, will be done by Mr. Bajoe Wibowo. These two are veterans in each of their respective fields, and I leave it to them who is going to take it first. But the process would be that each speaker speaks after, as I close down my introductory remarks as of now, very soon, quickly. And then after they both speak, we will come to a question-answer session, should there be any questions from the participants, wherever they are. I might speak a bit more when I introduce each speaker. So let me stop now with having conveyed to you essentially the pith and substance of this topic of the day for discussion for the live talk. Now, may I be democratic and ask who is going first, Mr. Azad or Mr. Wibowo? Mr. Azad, you have to unmute to answer.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, so you will be going first, right?
I think our guest speaker from WIPO.
I can start.
So I think Mr. Bajoe Wibowo can start first, if you don't have the problem.
Okay, okay. In which case, let me say one sentence. So, Mr. Bajoe Wibowo is going first. He's the program director in the Deputy Director General's office.
Project manager, not
project manager in the World Intellectual Property Organization based in Geneva. He is an experienced intellectual property, I wanted to say authority. I might still say that, authority, but his background is both in engineering and management. And he's been in WIPO for over 21 years, I guess, if not more. And he had been in several sectors of the organization, WIPO, from patents to technology to different information sources, and now in the Deputy Director General's office for development cooperation. And for us at IPDP, development cooperation is the most directly pertinent and relevant sector in WIPO. So with this, may I request Mr. Bajoe Wibowo to kindly please take over and give your insights into the topic of creation of new employment, growth, and economic sustainability in the world, specifically with reference to LDCs, obviously developing countries also would come in. And I will also highly appreciate if at some stage you would address how IPDP, whose sole purpose is intellectual property development, as a small organization operating from Bangladesh, can contribute to and assist in your global task, and vice versa, how the big intellectual property organization such as WIPO can give a helping hand for us to be of assistance to contribute to the development of our least developed countries and developing countries. Thank you. With this, I stop, and the floor is open to Mr. Wibowo to kindly take over. Please, you have the floor, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all the participants, and thank you, Mr. Rao, for this very kind introduction. I'm glad to see our former colleague. You are also our director in the office of New York, so it's a real pleasure to meet you and to be also with Mr. Azad, my friend, since I've been knowing Mr. Azad since 2016. So the first thing I wanted to say that, as you know, before I come into the IPDP, we are living in the knowledge economy, and intellectual property is present in our daily life everywhere. And it is present in our different innovations and products that we are using every day. This kind of webinar would have not been possible maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Now, especially in this pandemic period, what we have noticed is that the physical meetings are now replaced by virtual meetings. And the challenge today also is how can we still do the business in the innovation? How can we do that? So I was very glad. I'm not an expert about Bangladesh, but I've learned a bit thanks to you, Mr. Rao, and Mr. Azad, that there was an important cell which is called Innovation and Innovator Cell under the private-public partnership, which is a very important cell under the Prime Minister's office, which has been created a few years ago, whose main purposes is to create high-level innovation, world-class innovation at national level and international level. That is the first thing that I noted. Of course, as you know, the World Intellectual Property Organization is working with our traditional partner, which is the IP offices. If I'm not mistaken, in India, in Bangladesh, you have the Industrial Property Office and you have the Copyright Office. So what is interesting, I will come now to the IPDP component. What I found very interesting is that the Center Policy Research for Bangladesh, which has been created by Mr. Azad, has put in place a few years back a framework for an intellectual property program for development. And this program is basically a complementary, I would say, tool to support not only the educational awareness of IP, but also to help the business, how to do the business, and also its commercialization, and also the IP management. Because it's good to talk about innovation, but before innovation, we need to have invention. And I heard also recently that now, I'm very glad to hear that Bangladesh now is stepping out from the category of least developed countries towards the category of developing countries, which means that economically there is a real progress, which is fantastic for Bangladesh. And I believe that today, all the different stakeholders from the public, private, needs to synergize together to enable the perfect ecosystem in the innovation. So that the moment we have an innovation, created, we know how to manage the IP asset, we know how to commercialize it, and we need also to know how we can reach out the different markets where we want to promote this product. And my understanding also is the challenges is very big because for the time being, let's be honest, the awareness still required to be strengthened because maybe because for economic purposes, people are not necessarily the intellectual property is not a priority, but I guess with initiative like IPDP supporting the IIC under the Prime Minister project could be definitely a very important boost. For me, if the no, now the key question is how can we create jobs? Obviously, once we will come with an ecosystem conducive to innovation, then automatically we will have not only researchers, we will have also administrators, people who can understand not only the value of IP, but also how to manage it, how to and then to reach out other stakeholders. And that is what I see in the value of IPDP. I've been talking a lot with Mr. Azad over the past 4 years, and we have gone through so many challenges. And recently, I had the opportunity also to talk to you, Mr. Rao, and we both know, as you were being a former director at WIPO, you also know that everything takes time. And we have also the political challenges because every government which is changing sometimes do not necessarily continue the legacy of the predecessor. But I believe that with this important initiative approved by the cabinet, which is the IIC and the private-public partnership, is an extremely good sign that IPDP and IIC can, through CPR Bangladesh, can definitely help IIC along with the IP Office of Bangladesh to make this ecosystem conducive to innovation. What I see here, I'm in charge. I'm working in the development sector, as you mentioned, and one of our tools, which was launched in 2016, is called WIPO Match. What is WIPO Match? WIPO Match is like a matchmaking platform to enable potential seekers of innovation and technical assistance needs against potential donors who might give the appropriate resources. WIPO Match is not a miracle, but WIPO Match can amplify not only the technical assistance of our member states from developing world, from countries in transition and LDCs, but we are also, we give also the opportunity to give the visibility to any project. In our case, if we talk about the IIC, under the private-public partnership, we can help, and this is what we have been trying to do over the past 4 years, to try to give a visibility towards not only different stakeholders, but in stakeholders from all parts of the world. WIPO Match today is 120 members from 53 countries, with 9 strategic partnerships, with 9 UN agencies, and of course, one of the main important things is the Islamic Development Bank. As you know, Bangladesh is member of the Islamic Development Bank, which has put in place a budget to spur innovation of $500 million about 2 years ago. And the market of the Islamic Development Bank member state is about 1.7 billion people. So, and we believe that, in addition to that, we have been also trying to promote within the organization a lot of South-South cooperation activities as well. And this is how I see the thing. Maybe Bangladesh, maybe specialized in certain area of technology, may be also willing to share after that, experience with other countries and vice versa. This is also something that WIPO Match is also encouraging, and WIPO in general. As you know, at WIPO we have a number of programs, a number of platforms, and the other platform that that come to my mind, or other members of the community which come to my mind, is, for example, the Korean Intellectual Property Office was also posted offers for academic purposes, how to, this program, to sensitize and to, and also we have also program from the United States, from USPTO. So we have a number of programs that could be of interest to IPDP to strengthen the human capital resource base to be able after that to come to another level with the commercialization, with innovation. So I think it's a number of actors which need to interact between themselves. Of course, IP, when I started 22 years ago, everyone was wondering what was intellectual property, and I could not blame them. But today, it's part of our daily life. It is a real asset. Big companies now are not valued based on based on the money they have, but based on the intellectual property asset they have. How many patents, how many trademarks. This is what is the difference between 22 years ago. I think I would like also to end this first address by quoting two interesting quotes. Don't wait for opportunities, create it. And then another quote from former president's wife from the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, said, "Chance happens when preparation meets opportunity." So we need to create the opportunity in Bangladesh. And this kind of live talk show, hopefully, will sensitize, the community in Bangladesh and everywhere in the world that there are good people and also who understand the value of intellectual property. And let's try to work together, because by being together, we'll be stronger. And I would like to end this first part of my presentation by quoting the great Madiba Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it is done." So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bajoe Wibowo. That shows your, that brings out your experience very vividly. You have touched on the national processes in Bangladesh, the role of CPR, Center for Policy Research, and the Intellectual Property Development Program, underlining that Bangladesh economy is in transition, moving from LDC status to the developing country status. And also the second leg of your presentation on the WIPO match and the services that you can offer, and the match that you could, as you have done in 120 countries, be able to be of support to IPDP in Bangladesh, and then the South-South cooperation, other platforms such as Korean and USPTO platforms for the kind of intellectual property value chain for those that need and for those that they could supply. That matchmaking is a good point of WIPO services, of which you are the program director. And of course, finally, thank you for your wonderful quotes, ending with Nelson Mandela on what's not done seems to be possible until it is done. Thank you very much, and I'm sure there would be very interesting questions in terms of how this matchmaking you will execute. Now, with the permission, I will now turn to Mr. Muhammad Abul Kalam Azad. He is the spirit behind the IPDP. He is the founder of the IPDP in Bangladesh. He is also the founder of the CPR, Center for Policy Research and Innovation. He is a mind that cannot sleep day in or day out. He is completely into this. He's a missionary, and He is also a management person. He is a visionary. He is the founder of CPR IPDP in Bangladesh, and he is committed to this cause. Without much ado, let me hand over the floor to Mr. Muhammad Abul Kalam Azad. So please portray, Azad Saab, your approach to the current topic in terms of employment, sustainable goals, and development. Over to you, Mr. Azad.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Ramarao. And firstly, I'd like to request you, if you feel any problem in my voice, so you could unmute your. So could you please unmute your. Okay, thank you. I'd like to add something with Mr. Bayu about the background information of the intellectual property and role of the intellectual property in Bangladesh and other LDCs and developing world. Basically, Center for Policy Research Bangladesh has been developing the framework of the innovation and innovator cell that has been established in 2016 in Bangladesh at Khulna University of Engineering Technology. And the project of the Innovation and Innovator Cell has been approved by the Cabinet Divisions on August 9, 2017. Basically, the IPDP has designed to support the government public-private partnership initiative to overall activities of the IAC, such as technology transfer, business development, policy and IP management activities of the Innovation and Innovator Cell. These are the background picture of the intellectual property development program. So basically, how we can create new employment in Bangladesh through the program, I'll give you the live example to when we actually trying to go for operation for creation of world-class science, technology, innovation, and invention, and its commercialization and industrialization at national or international scale. We are facing a lot of difficulties that the scientists, researchers are not equipped enough to create something such kind of what actually deserving the international SMA market or industrialized country. So based on these issues, government has approved 280 dedicated scientists and researcher administration for this. So this is one example for a single hub. So on the other hand, the three important components of the innovation and innovator cell, such as actually 280 dedicated person and researcher scientists, they will produce number of high quality science, technology, innovation, and invention from Bangladesh. They will also add value to the international SME market. That was our main purpose, to establish the innovation and innovator cell. So the technology development office right now is not equipped enough. That's why the program has designed that it can be viable under only the public-private partnership model. Because if we can call the international SME market, those who are already skilled enough, they can produce, they can enhance our local people, build their capacity, and how we can utilize the innovation at international market, local market, and they have a specific need, especially European SME market have several thousand requests. So based on this need of the international market, actually government has approved the human resources. At the same time, government has approved the necessary financial other intellectual property and information technology infrastructure for the country. Uh, Basically, we are also facing right now that private investors are not already engaged in this process uh, uh, of the development process of the innovation and innovator self. That is why actually the need of the IIC for technology office for the technology transfer, office for the business development, and office for the policy IP management. We have designed the framework of the intellectual property development program. And the intellectual property development program not only to support the government public-private partnership initiative in Bangladesh, it will also support in other form in other LDCs countries or developing countries. These are the background. It's a live example in Bangladesh where IPDP is creating new synergies in Bangladesh. Already, government has approved by the cabinet division. So we have a lot of work to do. So we can create new employment in our technology transfer office under the IAC. We can also engage the other private sector, investor, donors, other government, intergovernmental organization to our policy and IP management activities of the IAC. And we can also engage the how when we will commercialize the national invention or international invention. So these are the basic pictures that we have created through the intellectual property development, and that intellectual property can make the overall development activities of the innovation and innovator cell development under public-private partnership in Bangladesh. This is one example, actually. So we can create another example in other LDCs country and developing countries. So right now, it can be a public-private partnership model. It can form also the public-private partnership, or either it can form in another intervention at different country, depending on their need, depending on the situation of the LDCs country or developing country. So I want to stop here right now, and I would like to request you to discuss further on the main speaker, Mr. Bajoe Wibowo, and Professor Dr. Ramarao also, to highlight the others' role of the intellectual property development, how we can bring new kind of create new kind of employment opportunity in Bangladesh or other LDCs or developing country, as well as we can also create new kind of employment opportunity in our the ongoing activities of research and development activities into the intellectual property development program. We can how we can acquire the R&D resource from a developed country, and then thereafter, when we will go for the practical application in the LDCs country or developing country, then it will be a great impact in the world, where developing country or LDCs country will get greater benefit, and it will also create new kind of growth system and economic sustainability. And this program can also add real value to the sustainable development goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Azad. You are, of course, well entrenched to speak of the origins, the genesis, and the practical utility of the organizations that you created. Now, one way is like, if you have any questions that you receive.
Yes, we have received one question.
Okay.
How WIPO Mass can mitigate the challenge of the IPDP?
Okay. Yeah. So should we address that first?
So I'd like to request you to Mr. Bayoe to.
Yeah, repeat that question again for benefit of Mr. Wibowo.
So, answer the question, right?
Yes.
Yeah, can you see this portion?
Of course. I understood your question. So, as I mentioned to you, I made the global, I would say, analysis of the IPDP challenges and also the IIC, under private-public partnership. WIPO Match is a community of people who have the same like-minded spirit to support economic, social, and cultural development towards implementing in all parts of the world the Sustainable Development Goal 2030. So the fact that they are all in the community, and some of them are in different area, I would say, of technology, of business. Some are giving pro bono support for IP consultancy, others are innovation, others are university, others are. We have different, different members within our community. But the key element also is once, this is what I was discussing before, it is important now not only to limit with IPDP only, but to understand also the global picture with the IAC. We need to have within the IPDP, a clear idea of the specific needs that is required. Then after that, we can knock on the door of the different people. Because up to now, I understand the global holistic approach of the IPDP. And many developing countries are already doing this kind of thing. They have their own academy, in Korea. Every big developing country has their own things. But I believe that this initiative from Bangladesh is timely coming, and the fact that it's supported by the government. And how can we, WIPO Match, mitigate? We are here to facilitate the communication, the interaction. We are not magicians, but we are people of good willingness. And that is why we have come to this webinar to show, because we believe in IPDP, and but it requires, of course, under also the leadership of our friend Mr. Rama, as the CEO of the IPDP in the USA. We might also request for his support as well. And then if we put all our brain together, we will definitely come with something beneficial for everyone. Because if we expect, there is an expression saying there is no free lunch. It sounds very rude, but we can do one time pro bono one, but we should be sustainable. And today, I was studying a big university when I visited last year in the Australia's country. I would not quote which university it was, who said, but do you really think if we put technology, high sophisticated technology in the WIPO Match as a potential offer, people from the developing world would understand, would be able to implement or to use this technology? And I say, you should not look at this from this perspective. If you look at Bangladesh, they have a big challenge regarding heat stroke. If you can invent, an innovation related to heat stroke, you have a market, you have a business. And people were looking at it from a different angle. It's not because we are from developing world or least developed countries that we are not, we are not smart enough. It's not the issue here. It's how we can work together. And I remember having heard one seminar with Mr. Rama saying, we are now in a globalized world, we should grow together. We cannot just be successful in one place in the world and leave the other behind. Yeah. And this is how, through personal action, because WIPO Match, unlike many platforms, we are trying to give a customized human approach. interactive things. Of course, it takes more time, but it facilitates also the connection. It's not just a platform where you post needs and offers and we don't know how to match, you see. You need also a human intervention at a certain point. Yeah. This is how I see how WIPO match can mitigate. And through this kind of dialogue with the Bangladesh stakeholders, we hope, I'm confident that it will create some enthusiasm, you know, and yeah, and encourage to go together hand in hand towards the same goal, the success and the development, the growth and creation of jobs within the country. Yeah, that is my the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Wibowo. I think that's a good question, and your answer goes deep into kind of addressing the concerns. We will, I think, we will take it up at the end also. Now, can we go for other questions, Mr. Zaz?
Basically, Mr. Bayu is work like a donor to associate with the working several hundreds of donors at WIPO Mass platform. So, the need of the current need of the IPDP in Bangladesh, as well as other global market, other part of the world, particularly in the industries and development. We need more of at least 4 international experts. And right now we are working, dedicatedly working 2%. Dr. Rao and me working as a researcher for the IPDP. We are trying to find out the problem of the developing country and trying to add value to the international market. During this pandemic, so I, I believe and we believe that this is a very valuable, important project because in this crisis situation, we need innovation. And without innovation, we cannot solve the global problem. So if IPTP can create new kind of employment opportunity in LDC's country, developing country or developed country. So, and if we can also stable the growth and we can reduce the economic recession or further development, and if we can uh, sustain the economic stability. So I think it would be a very good thing, good approach for the international donors. So if you could connect us, as you said, the appropriate donors, supporters, we need also supporters from various scholars around the world. On the other hand, we need financial support to because we have a small management team here in Bangladesh, and we have a very small research team for this dedicated team for the IPDP. So we need more support from international community, international organization. So this is my our request to World Intellectual Property Organization as well as WIPOMAS supporters and WIPOMAS community.
Okay. We have any question, Mr. Zaz?
Yes, already I have a question already. One person picked up the and Mr. Bayo and Mr. Bayo already know the exact need of the IPDP. So I have repeatedly explained the need of the IPDP and role of the. We have also certain highlight the role of the IPDP in Bangladesh. So I think the WIPOMAS supporter can really add value to this. Even other donors, but we are easily we are not able to easily accessible to all the donors around the world. So where IPDP, WIPO mass can add
May I
value.
say the question? May I just react to
But this
that?
is my
Yes,
suggestion.
please.
This is not push.
Okay, please, Mr. Wibowo.
Suggestion, request, whatever. I cannot have as an expert discussion. I cannot make any question in
No,
this
no.
discussion.
We have been working, as I mentioned earlier, since 2016, when the platform was just born. People were not used to work in this condition. If you, Mr. Rama, Mr. You were director at WIPO, you knew exactly how the requests were made, official letter to the Director General, and then. But now, since the the requests are coming from everywhere and in all parts of the world, we cannot financially, meet all these requests. That is why member states in 2016 decided to put in place this matchmaking platform to be an additional tool to support technical assistance and innovation. And I have even understood now that there might be under the new administration, because as you know, a new director general has been elected, but from the 1st of October, there might be a new division within the organization which will be in charge of commercialization. From my understanding, that would be something that could also help, to support activities. Regarding the financial issues, as you know, the pandemic has not only affected Bangladesh, but it has affected the entire world, including in Switzerland, where WIPO is. And there are many people who lost their jobs. And now we have always to think in a way that, okay, we need money, but what is the exact project? Because today money is more precious than ever. If we have to finance, if you are an investor, you need to be sure that the project is a real value and can also return a kind of return of the investment, or can enable a sustainable project, implementation within Bangladesh, within the 5, 10 years, and not every year something, requesting systematically fundings, So that is also the thing that I see. Of course, we are all, uh, you know, people of good willingness, sincerely willing to bridge the gap, the technological gap, and make sure that everyone live happily, on this earth. But we have also to be realistic. That is why this conversation I think, is very important. And since it is recorded, I will also share this video to the different donors, which for them to understand. Oh, look, this is CPR Bangladesh developing a program on IPDP, supporting the Bangladesh government on the IIC and the private-public partnership. Okay, what can you do? Are you interested to join in for certain, area of technologies, or you are interested to do something else? This I can try, but I'm not a magician. I'm just someone with good willingness and sincerity. And Mr. Azad, what I've done so far for IPDP, CPR Bangladesh, and yeah, that is basically the thing. What I propose, maybe our audience may be a little bit shy. They can always ask questions and then send it to you, and then after that we can follow up individually. What do you think, Mr. Rao? Because in case the question may arise later after the posting, I'm always available to follow up after that.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a very practical approach, Mr. Wibowo, and you've been dealing with all countries all over the world under the WIPO Match program. We do highly appreciate your insights. Like the idea is to create specific need, to identify our specific needs, and then WIPO, as you said, will connect with the concerned donors and to find this is where the matchmaking comes. The word match, WIPO match.
Yes, yes.
Like you are not marrying, but you are mixing the match. So that's how it is WIPO match. So we have another question here from Kuwait Yinmin. Why is IP important for my business? And what considerations should I have when I am planning an IP strategy for a new market? Why is IP important for my business? And what considerations should I have when I am planning an IP strategy for a new market? Uh, Quiet, you should tell us also what is your business.
Yeah, that is the point.
It depends upon your business. And the question is, of course, given over to the speakers. But it will be wonderful if you could also try to, you know, to quickly type in what is your business and what you are looking for. Although the question is over to the speakers, I hand over the question to the speakers. Please, Mr. Wibowo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was one of the questions. I guess Miss Min is doing
Kayat,
business innovation, right? You are doing it, you have an invention, I guess. Why that is why you speak about IP, or is it a trademark? I don't know what exactly, but let's assume that you have an invention, and when you develop an invention, you invest time, you invest money, and if at the end you end with excellent invention, which has a commercial value, but you don't know how to protect your IP, your invention, and someone steal the ID, and at the end, commercialize your ID and file the patent that in reality belong to you, because you don't know the patent value of the innovation, the patent value of your invention. So you will lose all the benefit of your invention. If you're an inventor and you want to do something just for yourself to use it at home, fine. But if you want to do business with you invent, I don't know, a new way to I don't know to you develop a washing machine. I don't know. I say something washing machine with certain new technology which is not existing. At the end, you will lose everything. So the purpose of the IP system is to reward the inventiveness of the inventors, basically. So that is why when you do something, before you try to make sure if you are successful in developing a patent invention, but then for an invention, then that you ask the right advices with the patent consultant, or so that you can go to the IP office of Bangladesh, or wherever you are now, and to ensure that you file a patent application to protect your interest. And that is why it's very
yeah,
important.
I'd like to interact something. She is from Thailand, Bangkok.
Okay. So Kapunka is win.
Kayat
So
Yan Min. Kayat Yan Min from
from Thailand, yeah. So this is my answer, basically.
You want to say something on that, Mr. Azad?
yes. Basically, recently we have made two proposals to two prominent science technology institution, uh, as well as law, economics, business. We have made a proposal to MIT Department of Economics, and we have also made another proposal to Department of Economics, Harvard University, for establishment of the virtual platform of the IPDP, so that we can collaboratively work with the R&D activities. So we need your direct assistance from through the network. You have a WIPO math supporter called maybe autumn. So how autumn can bring the greater benefit of the uh, world to connect such kind of innovative or scholar environment.
Okay. Uh, I have noted your request, and as I mentioned to you earlier, I will contact also my colleague from the UN Technology Bank, which is based in Ankara, one of the most important initiative by the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. I can't remember now, Mr. Mr. Rama. What is the name of the former secretary from Korea? I forgot his name now. Mr. Ban Ki-moon. Mr. Ban Ki-moon. Right, it was his initiative, the UN Technology Bank, which give the access to technology, the latest technology to LDCs in particular. I will contact them so that we can also create another match also, you know. And the good part of it, once we finish this, I guess this link will be available and I can share it also with them so that they can also understand what you are going through, what is the project, and then after that, I will make the proper introduction. But once again, it is very important also to keep in mind because it's not only for IPDP, but also for the colleagues from the government of Bangladesh, from the IIC, you know, all these things. We may, this is just an idea that I'm suggesting, maybe we might organize a kind of webinar with all the different parties under the leadership of you, Mr. Rao, as the CEO, and then we can just discuss informally and see what we can do. We'll be stronger.
Fantastic. I think it's a very practical solution, Mr. Wibowo. I think it is highly appreciable. Highly appreciate what you.
And I can also, after that, invite other colleagues from WIPO, from the TISC, because I know that is also there. So other, you know, who can really contribute substantively to something, you know, to some project, and everyone will be happy from the academy. Then we see how we can. But the fact that you're also the CEO of IPDP can definitely give also a lot of more value again. It's evaluated because you are one of our most senior colleagues as well, and this is fantastic what you have been doing from United States, supporting our brothers from Bangladesh.
It's beautiful, I say, what you have said in terms of direct involvement and that you can set it up for IPDP with different stakeholders, the UN Technology Bank in Ankara, and of course, our different wings, including the academy, the WIPO. I think it's very honest, sincere, and constructive. Your suggestion is. May I take this opportunity to get back to conceptually? I want to again perhaps want you to address both the specific question of the topic in terms of contribution of intellectual property, in this case IPDP, for creation of new employment, growth, and economic sustainability. I'm trying to somehow trying to do justice to the topic, which is this. Now, employment comes how? Employment comes from new industrial establishments or reviving the existing industries. It might not necessarily mean you have a new robotic laboratory or industry or artificial intelligence, but you might also be using or improvising on the existing traditional knowledge, transforming that into an industry in your country, or protecting your genetic resources or your cultural expressions, whatever. Like, say, in Bangladesh, they have a specific category of sari design, which is a very traditional art. Or there's a great jute industry for hundreds of years, whatever. The idea is if we are addressing employment, relating it to intellectual property, we'll have to go, and this is like a question that I'm asking you both to address for the benefit of ignorant like me, but also for those who are sitting and participating today in this live talk, is we have to look towards employment generation through new industries or reviving the existing industries, which contribute to the economic and social development and cultural development of the country or the country's concerned. Mr. Wibowo would definitely tell me, because it used to ring in my ears in the past, that this is obviously a national policy, plan, and priority. WIPO, United Nations Technology Bank would all support. That's where we have the PPP equation come into picture, public-private partnership as well. So what we are speaking here of the specific aspect of intellectual property as a tool for creation of new industries, generating employment, growth, and the distribution of it which sustains and satisfies the sustainable development goals. The sustainable goals of development, which includes environment, etc., the COVID and viruses and diseases, all of them come. Now, therefore, I leave it, I want to pose this as a point for consideration to both the speakers, Mr. Azad and Mr. Wibowo. I would say the chief guest, Mr. Wibowo, for this talk, to see how we can, through WIPO Match, through our technology and innovation and SDI and stuff, and through other platforms of WIPO, contribute to getting to this innovation spark, spudge, as it were, in Bangladesh or in LDCs. I don't want to talk much about this because this opens up a whole debate, but I want to hear from you so that all the participants can benefit from your wisdom, knowledge, and experience. Can I first go to Mr. Wibowo, sir?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Rao, for your very pertinent analysis on how to address the employment generation with new industry. You know that at WIPO we have WIPO is mainly to administrating treaties, and that is the main role to harmonize the law worldwide. But over the past, I would say, 30 years, the development sector has been created to basically bridge the gap, between industrialized countries and developing world. Because if we want to have a better world, we need to be on the same equal foot, basically. And but the challenges we are facing is that all the developing world have different level of development and understanding of IP. This is also the first things. And that is why I was, as you know, within the organization, we have a special unit devoted for the least developed countries, and we have a new director, Mr. Dung from Vietnam. What I could do is not only to share this video, of course, my management will have a copy of this video, the link of this video, and I will try to make an internal maybe email or report about the discussion that we have had now, to try to sensitize them, because I'm not the senior management. I'm part of the organization as a project manager, but I need to refer to report and also to share the outcome of our discussion. I think every country, I think in a way, have the same willingness also to move ahead to and how and to overcome the hurdles, of IP in each country, because as I mentioned to you, IP is not always considered as the priority, because sometimes you need to make sure that at the end of the month you have money to pay your food, to pay your bill, and IP seems so far from that concerns. Let's be honest. Yeah. But since we are among people who are aware about that, and I hope that also some people from the government are also attending this video. Maybe you may share to those from the office and other things like that. So if we can try after that to consider kind of a small working force, I would say working team, and discuss informally. And after that, I'm sure that we can contribute to something tangible, realistic, and because if we join our force together, we'll be stronger. And at WIPO, we have, of course, a number of important program and platforms. Yeah, definitely we can do something, but we need also to be sure that from the government of Bangladesh as well, the ecosystem on be ready as well. This is also very important. It's not that okay, I come with my donors, but we don't know after that how to implement, how to absorb this support. So that is my reaction, my answer to your question.
Thank you very much. It's really practical and wonderful. Can I now then turn on that? Mr. Azad, would you want to dilate on it, expand on that, or whatever? Can you please take over that and unmute yours, Mr. Azad?
I'd like to give my final comments on today's discussion. The world is now the adverse situation during this pandemic. More than 100 million people are losing their job, and most of the several million people, those who are actually working at high-paid job, they are also losing their job. So if the innovation, IPDP is called that we are calling this, it's a new mechanism, a new process for development to sustain the economy for creation of the new employment. So, you know, through our research, we have identified a lot of things in the developing country where IPDP can really add to this, this part of this world, particularly in the LDC's country and developing country. So, from the social consideration of view, so this is a highly potential viable project for so especially socially viable project for the donors. Donors will invest their money and resource, human resource and other resource, if the project is viable socially. On the other hand, this is not only a socially viable project; it is a highly economic and financially viable project. And if we can get the necessary need of the IPDP during this R&D stage, then it will become the self-sustained project after 2 years. It will generate its own money. So I think if you can spread the message throughout the world for acquiring the human resource, financial resource, and other resources for the IPDP, so I think this can be create another synergy in the current COVID situation in the world. And we don't know how long the COVID will sustain here, and we have to living with the coronavirus pandemic. So, and people, almost 50%, more than 50% of people are locked down, especially in LDC's country and developing country are suffering tremendously. You cannot imagine from actually those who are actually living, because their government is providing the incentive package. And in Bangladesh, government is actually going to the herd immunity system, because there is no alternative way. Because poor people need to survive. Otherwise, they will die without affecting by the corona disease. So, in this situation, already many industry already closed, shut down, especially SME are heavily affected, and large industry also the same thing. And if we see the other LDCs country or developing country, they are also facing the same problem. In during this pandemic, so if you can, we can. This is such kind of R&D activities. Initially, we can start out from this. So where we don't have any actually any other physical interaction for this to continue the ongoing activities of the IPDP. So where other international resource can really add value to this program. This is not only a program, this is a high impact international project for donors, for supporters, and but we have limited access the donor, because in Bangladesh we don't have any donors to support any intellectual property related or high impact science and technology related project. Where initially you need to play your role as a big organization where you are working right now. And even in addition, United Nations Department of Social and Economic Affairs also can play the key role to provide their input support, because they are not aware enough to understand the whole picture of the LDCs and developing countries. Even most of the super scholar around the world, those who are already contributing to the contributed or continuing their activities in the development economic social activities, they need to we need to address that this is a very important thing where we can remove the built-in weakness of the LDCs country and developing country, where other supporters should more focus on this area. Otherwise, LDCs country and developing country will suffer for a long time, and they will exist. They will never actually change their situation, and we need to transform the industrial and our existing system. And this, if suppose any government can create focus on the creation of any I am talking about the LDCs country and development country, okay, can enter or participate into the global R&D activities, especially for creation of new kind of invention or new kind of science and technology innovation activities, or its further commercialization and industrialization activities at local or international level. Definitely, uh, no question, no doubt about this, that the country will create a number of several thousand, even million of people will get the employment opportunity. And currently, international donor, international organization working on this dedicatedly. But uh, most of the developing country or LDCs country now are not aware enough about their situation, how they will change their situation. They are not actually feeling that only without intellectual creation or development of intellectual property and its application.
Hello. There's something missing.
National and international.
Can't hear. Can't hear you. Mr. Azad cannot hear.
Yes,
Cannot hear you.
can you hear me?
Now, yes.
You cannot hear me?
Now we can hear you. We missed out sometime.
Basically, I was using my mobile data to for the broadcasting, and some unfortunate call came into my mobile. That's why the line disconnected.
Okay, continue now.
Sorry for that, actually, for audience, those who are listening right now. Anyway, I have said something about the listener or viewers. Maybe those who are watching this program right now and those who will watch this program later. If you have any question, please uh, put your question in the comment section. We will definitely uh, provide you with a specific answer on your question. So this is very important. We are talking about that why intellectual property is important program to balance the economic need of the LDCs, developing country, even in the world. Because if without creation and development of intellectual property or science and technology, uh, there is no way, there is no alternative way to actually overcome this situation. And to remove the perpetual problem of the LDCs and developing world, we have to adapt the new kind of solution. We need to, that we are focusing that IPDP as the new mechanism for creation. And this is very good things for the world. And then the whole world, we need to work together with this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Azad, and thank you, Mr. Wibowo. I think it's been a very wonderfully interactive and been initially proactive speeches and good questions and realized. Essentially, this is an intellectual property platform. Intellectual property, as to repeat again, it's a property intangible, like it's not what you can touch, what you can see. You can see later, but this is the creation of mind and comes in, that is what we are referring to. How intellectual property and our organization called Intellectual Property Development Program, IPDP, contribute to employment growth and economic sustainability in Bangladesh and the world. So there are, of course, national development is a bigger issue. It's not just intellectual property. The global development is a bigger issue. It's not just intellectual property. But our focus for the moment is intellectual property. In broad terms, as Mr. Wibowo had mentioned, touched upon, it can appear in response to the question from Ms. Kuan Tien Min, is that it could be a patent, a trademark, a copyright, geographical indication, appellations of origin, or trade secrets. Anything, this is all the broad areas of intellectual property. Now, what it comes is, once you say property, it gives certain monopoly exclusive rights to the owner of that property. That is how the intellectual property is created. But in terms of real property, it is perpetual, forever, for you and then to your descendants or whoever that you pass it on your estate. But with reference to intellectual property, there are national and international regulations that set, that limit that kind of monopoly exclusive right for a certain period of time. And this is in return to something you disclose about what this is, what is your patent about, etc., to the public. Without disclosing it to the public, there is no patent right to you. Once you have the patent right, you have monopoly rights, say, now for 20 years. Now, I'm not getting into intellectual property law, but what I'm trying to say is our discussion is focused on intellectual property as a tool for, as a mechanism for employment, growth, and economic sustainability. One way of doing it is, to say it in concrete terms, is innovation based on science and technology. Essentially, it has to be cutting edge each time, or it has got to be an improvisation. That's how a patent can come out. Or something, it has to be original with reference to a copyright. Something which is not confusing with reference to a trademark. Now, these become your intellectual property rights. How do you create? If you have a new innovation, how come Microsoft is, or Amazon is, a global job provider and a big intellectual property, patent, copyright, and trademarks? That is what we are getting into. We are not the planners for the entire national development. We are using intellectual property as a tool for national development, national growth. And WIPO, in that process, the World Intellectual Property Organization, is the single exclusive arm, specialized agency of the United Nations. I keep saying this because WTO is not a specialized agency. It is an international organization, albeit. Therefore, we have the privilege to have had heard and had participate in this discussion. Mr. Wibowo, very experienced, practical, good at heart, soul, with a great experience in WIPO, has given us specific ideas with reference to, creating a kind of some connection with the WIPO, the UN Technology Bank. Similarly, with the different departments, a kind of interaction webinar for different departments of WIPO for IPDP. And then we know that science, technology, and innovation is the criteria, is the soul for movement from backward economies to forward economies. Without technological advancement, nothing else can happen in terms of moving up. It is obvious, it's axiomatic, and everyone knows that without we doing great scientific and technological advancement, we will have no vaccine by the end of the year, vaccine for COVID-19. Same for, established treatment for COVID-19. So it is necessary that we go through STI, and it is necessary for IPDP, permit me to say this, to kind of matchmake with WIPO. Mr. Wibowo is the program implementer for WIPO match in WIPO. But what we are interested in is also the IPDP and WIPO matchmake. Tell us how that we could organically, organizationally interact with each other, so that, like I know, I haven't told Mr. Azad, we used to have, there is an organization I'm a member of, I'm a director there, which is one of the observers at WIPO General Assembly. That's one way. So you could tell us, and there could be other ways in terms of WIPO match. You have been very kind, Mr. Wibowo, to get us involved with reference to webinar in the context of, involving academy and South and other platforms of WIPO in addition to WIPO match, or WIPO green for that matter. We could also do that with the Technology Bank, and I know you spoke you and Rola spoke at the UN recently on the 20 to 30 and STI. So we would be very happy from IPDP, and we would leave it to you for your judgment, because I have no doubt in strongly believing in your kind support to us at IPDP from WIPO, whatever that is within the within the permits, ambience of WIPO to us. And we hope to continue this with the new administration as well. This is a very important topic, and industrialization and employment and sustainable economic development are obviously a sine qua non, the major goals for any country to develop, including even the developed countries not to spin back, and certainly for the LDCs and developing countries and the countries in transition to move forward. I cannot thank enough all the participants, each and every one of you colleagues, including the questionnaires, Ms. Laboni Akhtar and Ms. Koyant Yinmin, and all of the participants. Please come more and participate with IPDP. And IPDP is an organization committed to the development and to serve the people and the humanity. Thank you all very much. With kind permission, thank you once again, Mr. Mohammad Abdul Kalam Azad and Mr. Bajoe Wibowo of WIPO. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you.
Thank you. The talk is over.